Okay, right now I'm going to go over the content of the Tech Training Lesson 5, where we're going to talk about spreadsheet functions, and we're going to talk about the if, SUMIF, AverageIf, and COUNTIF functions. So the learning objective is that colleagues will be able to use Google Sheets to do basic if statements and use conditional formulas, such as the ones I just mentioned. And these formulas all work the same way for Microsoft Excel. So it'll work for both Google Sheets and Excel, although we're going to be using Google Sheets in this example. So I'll put the link in this video so that you can access the sheet I'm about to use, but we have a practice sheet that can be opened by following that link. And here we've got the sheet from our first tech training, which you can see if you go to journeyhouse.org/resources. You can click on the Part 1 training video, and I've got a video walking through that Part 1. We're going to be looking at Part 2 today. So this is the practice sheet that we're going to be using for Part 2. And to practice it on your own, you can go down to the tab and duplicate. Just creates a copy of that sheet. And you can rename it as your name so that you know which one is yours. All right, so we are starting with the if formula. I'm gonna talk a little bit about how the if formula works. And as you'll remember from Part 1, to start typing a formula, you type equals sign, and then you can start typing the formula. And the if function works like this. If you type the word if, you can see it pops up here in the suggestion bar, and then the open parenthesis, and it gives you a little guide for what you're going to do. You're going to put in first a logical expression, something that is either true or false. And so I'm going to do a really basic one to start. 1 equals 1. So this is a logical expression, and the expression is 1 equals 1, and this is going to be true. And then I'm going to type a comma, and then I'm going to type what I want the formula to display if this expression is true. So I'm going to press a comma, and then I'm just going to type a quotation mark and type the word true. And then I'm going to put another comma and then put what if the value is false. And then I'm just going to, for an example purpose, I'm going to say false. And then I'm going to close the parenthesis. So because 1 does equal 1, this cell is showing true. But if I put 0 equals 1, which is false, instead of displaying true, it's going to display false. So anytime that this expression is false, it goes to the second thing, and if it's true, it goes to the first the first output that you put in here. So this is the structure of this formula, and we're going to go through a couple of examples to show how powerful this can be. But if you need to see another example, they actually show you an example and explain each part of the formula down there. So let's do another example. Let's see, what was the other example I was going to do? So instead of, I'm going to erase this cell, so blank again. Now I'm going to say equals if, and I can actually click on this and it'll put in the parenthesis for me. I'm going to say if cell A1, so I just clicked on cell A1, if cell A1 equals the word date, which it does happen to equal the word date is in this cell, so this is going to be true, then I'll say yes. Otherwise, maybe I'll say does not say date. There. Then we've got an if function that checks to see if the text in cell A1 is equal to date. And if it is, then this cell will show yes, and if it's not, it says does not say date. So let's check and make sure that that works. What if I type in dates here? Press enter, and all of a sudden now cell A1 no longer is equal to just the text date, and so it skips over this value if true, and it goes and it says does not say date. So let's do one more example here, and I'll show you that you can not just say like if the cell equals something, you can say if it's greater than or less than. So I'll say equals if, what if this, maybe if this score is greater than, maybe we'll say passing is a 70. If this score is greater than 70, well, if passing is 70, then I would want it to be greater than or equal to 70. So if this score is greater than or equal to 70, then you say pass. Otherwise, if it's not, if it's false, then you say fail. Frowny face. So remember that these, because they're text, I'm surrounding them by quotations, but here I've gone and said the cell F2, the value in cell F2, if it is greater than or equal to 70, then do this. If it is not, then display this. And if I press enter, you can see that because this is 65, this is false. But if I change this, if this is an 80, then all of a sudden this changes to pass. So this is how an if function works. And now we're going to use that, and actually I'm going to back up. I'm going to press Control Z so I go back to 65. And I'll delete this. So now I'm going to do practice number 1. Let's figure this out. So let's say that the ABE score was out of a possible 90 points, but the other classes were out of a possible 100 points. Create a formula that converts the scores into percentages. So we're going to fill this column in with the percentages. So if the program is ABE, then the score percent should be 65 divided by 90, because it's 65 points out of a possible 90 points. But if it's any other program, it should be the score divided by 100 points. So I would start by going, and actually I'm going to pause here for a second. You should pause this video and try to figure it out on your own using kind of what we just talked about. And then you can play and see me do it right now. So I will solve it by saying equals if this text equals ABE, then I want this cell to display this divided by 90. But if it doesn't equal ABE, then I want it to say this cell divided by 100. And that will give me the percent score that changes. If it is ABA, it gives me a percent score based on a total of 90 points. And if it's not ABE, then it'll give me a percent score based out of 100 points. So press enter. It's got 72% here, and this is going to be 78% because it's dividing by 100 because this is not ABE. And so I just filled that function down, and it changed. It used relative references, and now it's referencing these two cells. So that's something that we talked about in the last tutorial. But I'm filling this function down, and so each time it's checking to see, does this say ABE? If so, I'm dividing this by 90, but if it doesn't say ABE, then I'm dividing it by 100. So now I have a score and as a percentage of that test for each one. So that's how I could use an if-then statement or an if formula to do some work in a spreadsheet. So let's look at some of these practice questions. How much has Andrew paid? And so here are the payments, and then these are the names for each of the payments. So you can see Andrew shows up multiple times here. And instead of going through and adding together each of the times Andrew paid money, I'm going to use a new formula called SumIf. SumIf. So I'm going to type equals, and then SumIf. I can press enter if I want. And then you can see it's already giving us a guide. But first I'm going to say, all right, I want to just add together the amounts that Andrew has paid. So I'm going to select the range that holds the names. And I'm going to press comma, and I'm going to put a parenthesis and type Andrew. Because what this is doing is it's checking and only highlighting basically inside of this formula the values in this range that meet the criteria. So in this range, I just want to look at the ones that the cells that say Andrew. And I'm going to press comma again, and I'm going to add together all of the cells in this range that correspond to where it found Andrew. So if it found Andrew here, it adds this. If it finds Andrew here, it adds this. If I find Andrew here, it adds this. And then I'm going to close the parenthesis and press enter, and it comes up with 42. And I've added in a little answer checking formula here. This is another way that you can use an if-then statement. If you look in this cell, all I've done is I've used an if-then statement, and I've actually used two if statements. I said if the cell K2 is blank, then I don't want to show anything. That's why it was blank before. But if it's not blank, then I want to check and see if cell K2 equals cell M2 over here, which is where I put the actual answer. And that will tell me if I've got the right answer in that cell. And if it is the correct answer, I'll put correct in the cell. And if not, I say try again. And so let's say I came up with 41 as an answer. This says try again because it doesn't answer the answer in this cell. And you can see in here I've hidden it, but it's actually 42 in there. So I'm going to press Control Z to undo. This is the formula that I came up with to answer the question, how much has just Andrew paid? I summed over the range of names. I just wanted to look at the ones that said Andrew, and I added together the values here. It is important that these ranges match up, the rows all match up, because if they are off from one another, then if I find Andrew here, I might be adding a number that doesn't really belong to Andrew. So these ranges do need to kind of line up, starting from row 2, going all the way around to row 21 on both of them. So that's how the SUMIF function works. Now we'll do AverageIf. So what is the average payment of males? We've got males listed, male, female, the gender listed here. So I want to know what is the average payment of males. I'm going to put equals, and then I'll type AverageIf. And again, I've got a criteria range. I want to look at just the male gender. So I highlight those, I press comma, and then I'm going to type in my criterion, which is they have to say male for it to match. And then I'm going to press comma, and then I'm going to highlight the average range. And again, what is the average payment of males? So the payment is over here. Highlight those cells, I'll close the parenthesis, press enter, and I get 6. So this must be $6 because this is in dollars, and I can format that in dollars if I click the dollar sign up here, and I can erase those, hide those decimal places like that. So average payment of males, $6, and it turns out that is correct. It matches the answer right here. How many payments above $6 have been made? So this is a slightly different question. It's how many payments, not the average payment. So the last function we're going to learn today is the COUNTIF function. I'm going to type equals COUNTIF, parenthesis, and I'm going to count just the range that I want to look at. So how many payments above $6 have been made? I highlight all of the different payments, comma. And now this is the only thing that's a little different from what we've been doing. If we want to do a greater than or less than or greater than or equal to or less than or equal to with a COUNTIF or SUMIF or AverageIf function, I need to, after that comma, I need to use quotation marks to do less than, or actually in this case, above $6. So I'm going to do greater than 6 and then end the quotation and close the parenthesis. So this is the way you need to do greater than or less than. If I want to do less than 6, I could do less than 6. If I want to do less than or equal to 6, I would just do less than or equal to 6 and so on. But in this case, I just want to do greater than 6. So count all of the cells in this range that have a value greater than 6. Press enter, and we've got 11, and it turns out that that's correct. All right, so we'll just do a couple more examples using the same ideas. How much has Bridget paid? Well, here we'd answer the question, how much has Andrew paid? How do you think we'll answer the question, how much has Bridget paid? I'll give you a chance to pause this video and answer it for yourself. Here's how I'd answer it. Equals SUMIF, and I'm going to do it over all the names, comma, all the ones that match Bridget, comma, and I want to add together all of the payments that correspond to that name. Close it, and 24, and this is in dollars, so I'll turn that to dollars. And actually this is in dollars too. And that's correct too. What is the average score of GED participants? Go ahead and pause it if you want to try it on your own before I show you. I would solve it by saying equals AverageIf, and I just want the GED participants, so I highlight those, comma, GED, comma, and I want to average the average score, so the score right here. Close the parenthesis, press enter, And that's the correct answer. And how many times have females attended programs? So I want to know how many times. That's the COUNTIF function. I want to count how many times female shows up here. So I'm going to go equals COUNTIF this range, comma, female, 10 times. So I know these are correct because I did these beforehand and put in the actual answers here, and these verify that. I have the same setup here, and I want to let you do these on your own. You should try to answer these questions that are very similar to these questions, but slightly different. I want you to do them on your own, and if you are correct, the same correct will show up right here to let you know that you're correct. And I hope this has been helpful. To review, we learned the if function, the SUMIF function, the AverageIf function, and the COUNTIF function. And when you complete that short quiz, you will demonstrate that you have learned how to use and apply those functions. And if you have questions, you can rewatch this, or you can go to Google and search for how to use those functions. And in fact, let me just show you a quick tool and a quick resource you can use. If you want to look up more information about a function, say you want to look up more about the AverageIf function, if you're looking at this kind of explanation here, you can go down to the bottom and say learn more about AverageIf. Click on that and a little help bar pops up, and you can actually look at other examples here. You can look up an explanation of exactly what each one means. You can look at related formulas, and you can yeah, you can learn more about it that way. You can always search Google too, but that's another way that you can look up more information about a formula that you're not sure how to use. So I hope this has been helpful, and have a great day.